Welcome today to Eat Travel Life. My name's Regina and we are making a homemade apple pie. Let's go ahead and get started. Here are the ingredients you're going to need: apples galore, and so much more. Go ahead and start out by taking your apples and peeling them. You're going to want about 6 cups worth, and you can use many different varieties if you want. I think these are Fuji and Gala, and I found that the Gala were just a little bit softer than the Fuji. You'll want to peel off the skin, and then we will slice them. And here's controversy, you can cut them into chunks or you can cut them into slices, whichever you prefer. I prefer to cut them into chunks so that it's easier. I know that they're pretty much about the same thickness, and I like to cut around the core. It just makes it easier and I don't have to chase after the apples. You'll notice I'm not even perfect when I'm cutting off the skins. Try to cut off as much as possible. It's no contest here. I'm just making an apple pie for ourselves, and that's a little fiber if you leave the peel on. I'm using a measuring bowl, cup, whatever, that has measurements on it because I know I kind of want 6 cups of apples and a little bit more. I'm using a deep dish pie pan. So if you're using just a regular pie pan, you might not need as many. If you want it really mounded, obviously use more. This I think we used 5 or 6 apples, and 4 of them were very large. Then what you're going to want to do is mix your sugar, your flour, and your nutmeg and your cinnamon all together, because we are going to pour that over the apples, and we want it to um, be all mixed so that there's not one bite of the spices anywhere. That's why we're going to mix it, and we use that flour to help it thicken. We don't want to have a pie that the insides is runny, so we're going to mix the flour in as well, and that is a third cup. Before we do that though, we are going to take the apples and add a little lemon juice, because we're going to be working on the pie crust next, so these are going to sit. The lemon juice will keep them from browning. So we will then mix in the lemon juice and then add in the sugar mixture a half at a time. Obviously you should use a bigger bowl than this. I don't like doing dishes, so I just struggled through it with this. But you have to be very careful, otherwise you're going to just have your whole counter covered in sugar and flour. So definitely use a big bowl when doing this. No, don't do it like I do it. Do it so it's easier. And once this is all mixed and pretty much mixed, you might not get it all, and that's okay. Go ahead and set that to the side, and we can work on our crust. And you can use a homemade crust or you can use a store-bought crust, whatever works for you. So if you have a store-bought crust, you won't necessarily need to roll it out. You can roll it out a little bit, but it should be room temperature. This one was a little too much room temperature. I would recommend letting it sit out for 30 minutes. I think I let it sit out for an hour and it was a little messy. But if you add a little flour to it, it will help it. Or you can throw it back into the fridge. My oven was already preheated, so we just kept going and we added flour where we needed to. I'll try to spare you all the issues that I had, but it kept rolling up and getting thick onto the rolling pin. But it still worked. It was fine. I did add more flour to this because it was a moisture issue, because it was not a cold crust that I was trying to roll out. And like I said, the oven was preheated and ready. So you can work around it. It's just a mess. Try to do this with a cold pie crust, because you want to try to get it as thin as you can and get it into big enough that it'll fit in your pie pan. Now I can roll it onto the rolling pin and then put it into the pie pan and kind of get it up around the edges as much as possible. A little overhang is fine. We're going to cut that off, so not a problem. So once you've got it all in position, you can then put your apple mixture into your pan. Let me go ahead and grab the apples and pour them into the pan, and you'll notice that it is not overly mounding. If you wanted to, like I said, that was 4 large apples and I think a medium-sized apple, depending on how big your pan is. If you wanted it bigger, you definitely could make it bigger. So now we need to roll out the second crust. I am going to spare you watching me do this again. I did throw this one into the fridge to try to get it to stiffen up, but it was also a mess. So it's all rolled out, ta-da, and we're going to put that on top. It doesn't have to be perfect. My pie pan has a lip on it, and I am going to just roll the pie crust inside in the middle of that. So I will cut off all of the edges that are over it and hang on to those, because you can use those pieces in any area that you are missing pie crust, to help make you have a nice crust on the edges if you need. And then you can just go around the pie and fold it over onto itself and pinch it and fold over and pinch, and just repeat that process all the way around the pie to kind of seal that in as much as possible. It also keeps it from leaking. We are going to cut air holes into the top of this so that it can vent and get a nice brown, as well as we are going to take some milk and put it on top of the pie. This can give it a nice sheen, as well as we are going to use coarse sugar on top that will also sweeten the pie crust. And I'm just so excited to have a piece of this pie. I haven't made apple pie for myself in a long time. And it doesn't have to be perfect, and you can do the edge crust if you'd like to as well. But we are just going to put the sugar on the main portion of the pie. I decided to cut the vent holes first, and you could definitely be really fancy with this. I just did vent holes, and it looked really cute when it was done. And then I just grabbed some sugar, and it was about a teaspoon. Whatever you need to cover the entire pie and that you're happy with. The next thing I do is I take a baking sheet and put it underneath the pie when I go to bake it, in case that pie runs out and spills out. I don't want it to make a mess in my oven, so I always use a baking sheet to capture all that mess. It saves me from having to clean the oven. And then look at that, perfect pie. It was so good. And then to take it another level, you can take some caramel and you can drizzle. See, not a lot of run in that pie either. And then you can take the caramel and you can drizzle it over it. And I will put that recipe there so you can do that as well. So good, so delicious. Thanks so much for watching. Make sure you like and subscribe. Have a wonderful day.